for the pledge to our nation's flag.
As we bow, eternal God, our Father, this afternoon we bow on earth because you sit in heaven. Today, Lord, as we approach the Advent season, we want you to know from our hearts to your throne, you're not just the reason for the season. For those who love you dearly, you're the reason for everyday life and living. God, I pray even now for those who lead our magnificent metropolis. I pray, Lord, for all of those who are elected officials who give leadership to this city. I pray your blessings upon them. I cannot help but think about Pastor Felshaw and the passing of his mother. God, would you please show them comfort and consolation during their season of bereavement. God, my heart goes out to those who are COVID positive and who have suffered losses in their family due to this virus. God, would you please be for them a presence in the absence of those that they love. God, I cannot help but ask you today for the continued blessing of the children and families of this fair city. If there was ever a time that we needed you collectively, it is now. God, may I ask you, please, sir, to lay your hand upon Beaumont, Texas, to continue to bless her, to lead her, to guide her, to favor her. Lord, these proceedings are of you today, so I ask that you lead, guide, and direct each of them so that what comes from them is a blessing for us and brings glory to you. In the name of my Messiah, my Prince of Peace, and my King of Kings, in the name of the one that I call Lord of Lords and King of Kings, the name Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the pledge to our nation's flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Pastor Adolph. May we have the roll call, please?
Mayor Ames,
Here.
Mayor
Sorry, I
Pro
thought
Tem
you
Phil
was
Shaw,
talking.
Present.
Councilmember Getz,
Present.
Councilmember Neal,
Present.
Councilmember Pate,
Here.
Councilmember Samuel,
Present.
and Councilmember Mouton.
Present.
Thank you. We don't have any proclamations or recognitions today, so now would be the time for any citizen who wishes to speak on the consent agenda or item number 1. The time to do so is now. If you haven't already done so and you'd like to speak on one of these items, now would be the time. If you haven't already done so, please fill out the green slip at the rear of the room and hand it to the city clerk. She will call out your name. We would appreciate if you keep your comments to 3 minutes. The green light will come on when you approach the podium, and the red light will come on when your time is up.
I don't have any, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Okay, Council, is there a motion on the consent agenda, please?
So moved to approve.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second on the consent agenda. All in favor, please signify by saying aye if there's no discussion.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries unanimously. We'll now have a public hearing. If you'd like to read the caption, please, City Manager.
Pastor Adolph, thank you for being here. Thank you for that prayer. Mayor and Council, thank you for being here this week of Christmas. We have one item today on the agenda. It's an important one in it that we believe it's very good for the city of Beaumont. Before the public hearing, Mayor and Council, just so the public knows, anyone here to speak on it, we have an item after the public hearing to consider a resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into a tax abatement agreement with Suez Water Technologies and Solutions Incorporated. The city was approached by Suez requesting tax abatements in order to move forward with planned investments of $40 million in upgrades to their existing plant located on College Street, just west of the municipal airport. The project would result in approximately 75 construction jobs and the retention of 60 existing full-time jobs. The proposed abatement would result the city taxes, an abatement of city taxes on the new improvements in the amount of 100% during the project completion, 100% for the first year, 90% for the second year, 80% the third year, and 70% for the final year. The proposed abatement meets the criteria and conditions set forth in our reinvestment zone tax abatement policy, which you adopted back in September of this year. And another reason for the meeting is under state law, you have to post for this 30 days in advance, which we've done. And this time it'd be appropriate, Mayor, to have that public hearing. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I will now open the public hearing for the item that was just read. Is there anyone that would like to speak in this public hearing? Seeing no one, I'll close the floor, and we'll entertain number one, please.
I'm going to add very quickly, I want to thank Suez for, and working with Chris Boone and his staff. They were great to work with, and the administration recommends approval.
Thank you. Council, is there a motion on item number one, please?
So moved.
There's a motion and a second on the floor. Is there any discussion or questions? Councilmember Neal.
Thank you, Mayor. Has the county already agreed to these same terms?
I don't know about the same terms, but I think that agreement's been approved.
Okay.
And they're saying yes.
I guess my next question is, does the county's agreement have terminology in there requiring local contractors to be used, or a percentage?
Sure. Chris, come on forward.
Good afternoon. And I apologize, I also have Blas Ortiz, who is their consultant, on the phone as well. So, but yes, short answer is the county has entered into a similar agreement to what we're proposing today, and the county does require local contractors.
All right, thank you.
Yes,
Any
sir.
other questions or comments? There being none, all in favor of the motion for approval, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries unanimously. And that's all we have on our general business today. Before we go on to that, I would like to read that at the close of the city council meeting, the council will hold an executive session to consider matters to deliberate the employment evaluation and duties of a public officer or employee in accordance with section 551.074 of the government code, to wit, specifically Tyrone Cooper, city attorney. Also, to consider matters related to contemplated or pending litigation in accordance with section 551.071 of the government code, claim of Lauren Lewis. I'll now move to council member comments, and I'll start with you, Councilmember Getz.
Mayor.
Public comment?
Public comments, Mayor.
Well, it doesn't matter what order we do them in, but okay,
I didn't know
I'll
if
do
you
it.
wanted to do public comments first.
It doesn't matter to me. It
We
really
have one
doesn't.
person that wanted to speak.
Okay.
Landry Roundtree, 1565 South Major Drive, Beaumont, Texas.
Okay, Mr. Roundtree, I'll repeat what I said earlier. Please keep your comments to 3 minutes. The green light will come on when you approach the podium. Red light will come on when your time is up. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Mayor and City Council. The date was March the 30th, 1981, and President Reagan had just had an attempted assassination on his life. And he was laying on a gurney in a hospital, and the ever-witful president, though he was possibly close to death, he took off his oxygen mask and looked at the doctor, Dr. Granado, and said, "I hope you're a Republican." And the doctor and the nurses laughed, and doctor told him that day, said, "Mr. President, today we're all Republicans." And they were able to save him that day. 2,000 years ago, there was 4 diverse groups. A young couple, newlywed, expecting their first child. A heavenly host. Some shepherds working the night shift. And some wise men that had traveled from the far east. Although their paths would not normally cross, they crossed that day because they found common ground at Bethlehem. They found a star. And most of all, they found the baby, which is the reason for the season. I hope each of us this Christmas season can do like our Lord and Savior did. Go beyond our comfort zone and maybe reach out to somebody that needs to be reached to. And so with that, I want to say Merry Christmas to each one of you, and God bless you, and may you have a happy new year. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Roundtree. Is there any other citizen who would like to speak today? Okay, if there's none now, I'll start. Yes. Okay, well, would you go ahead and do that, please, sir? Yes.
Could we possibly move on with council member comments while we wait for him?
Certainly. Are they right there, Chris? Are they coming right now, or? If not, we'll move forward. Yes? Okay. Yes, sir. Please come forward, and as I mentioned earlier, we'd appreciate if you keep your comments to 3 minutes. The green light will come on when you approach the podium, and the red light will come on when your time is up.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, sir.
My name is Peter Lee. There's 2 words from the dictionary. One is conspiracy. The second is confidential informants. That's all I want to say.
Okay, thank you, sir. Maybe, would you like to read the name and address for the record, please?
Oh,
ma'am?
I'm sorry. His name is Peter Lee. No address, Beaumont, Texas.
Okay, we can get that before he leaves. Thank you. All right, Councilmember Getz, please.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to wish everybody a happy and joyous holiday season.
Thank you. Councilmember Neal?
No comment, Mayor. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you, Mayor. As Pastor Adolph mentioned, my mother did pass away. She was admitted to St. Elizabeth Hospital on December the 9th, and for roughly 12 days, she was there on the COVID floor, and then she succumbed to the illness on the 21st, yesterday about 2:10 in the morning. So I do appreciate everyone's prayers and concern, everyone's support through Facebook, texting, and email, and so forth. And so I do appreciate everyone. She fought a good fight. She fought hard and just finally succumbed to the COVID-19. So we do appreciate everything that, all the expressions of concern and prayers, but continue to pray for our family as we go through this process. We, as you can understand, are trying to do a funeral and at the same time maintain the spirit of Christmas for the sake of our children. And so it's a challenging week. So we do covet your prayers and we do appreciate your support. And as Councilman Getz just mentioned, Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to everyone. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember. We're very sorry for your loss. Councilmember Pate?
Thank you, Mayor. Our thoughts and prayers are with Randy and his family. My sisters attend Randy's church, and my younger sister Pam just went on and on about what a wonderful woman that your mother was, and what an impact she had on you and everybody in the church, and what a loss that it is. As I mentioned before, COVID's a tough thing. The first casualty was a friend of mine that I'd known for 50 years plus. Recently, I've talked to you numerous times after I was diagnosed with prostate cancer about what a wonderful person George Thomas was. Somebody that I'd known since literally we were teenagers. And I gave him and continue to give him credit for saving my life because he was such a conscientious physician and friend. Sadly, we lost George. I was, a couple of weeks ago, I made the point that I wanted you to pray for him, as I said, along with my sister, who is still in dealing with COVID, and she's been literally in the hospital for a month plus. So it's a tough situation, and I do want to make a point. There was a comment about violating HIPAA regulation. HIPAA only directly affects people who work in the healthcare industry, not private citizens. But my point was, I was asking people to pray for a friend of mine, and I'll continue to ask people to pray for people who have COVID or anything else. I have a strong belief in God. I don't know how people get along that don't believe that. Prayers do make a difference, and I pray continuously all day long. I pray while I'm up here. I pray for wisdom, and I pray for patience. And sometimes I need more patience. But the bottom line is, this is a time to celebrate, for those of us who are Christian, the birth of Christ, who is the salvation for us, and who taught us about forgiveness and love. He, Prince of Peace, interestingly enough, is Jerusalem is the city of peace. That's what Jerusalem means. And hopefully we'll find peace there and peace here in our hearts. It's a time of celebration, the joy of Christmas, of giving, of love, and I hope that everybody has a joyous season. As I said last week, keep us on the prayer list. We're trying to do the best we can. Thank you.
Councilmember Samuel.
Thank you, Mayor. Condolences to your family, Councilman. This is a trying season for you. I'm mindful that there are hundreds in our area that are having to deal with the absence of someone close, whether it be friend or family. There are thousands of people across this country and in this world. But this is a season of giving, a season of reflection of the gift that has been given to us all. And with that, I wish everyone a Merry Christmas season as well as a Happy New Year. But I'm also mindful that as many are having to deal with the loss in a family, there are many people that don't feel the same way about the season that they're experiencing because of issues at their homes. We have individuals that find it difficult to say Merry Christmas when they have sewer backing up in their yard or in their home. So I'm mindful of that, and we're asking that they attempt to be understanding and that we're trying to address those type of concerns. And rather than waiting to the new year, I am making a request to this council as we move into the new year. Let us find ways to better serve our citizens, responding to their issues, being compassionate and putting ourselves in their places. It's difficult for someone to say it's a great day when they can't even go into the bathroom and wash their face or take a bath because of something in their bathroom. We have to be mindful of those things. So I'm asking that we find a better way of dealing with drainage, sewer backups, drainage ditches. We shouldn't have to wait until someone complains about issues. As I took a ride on my daily bicycle ride, I rode through a part of my ward that on at least 7 streets, the ditches were full to capacity and the rain had ceased over a day ago. Many of them were stopped up because of trash in the culverts that prevent the drainage from coming off. It not only impacted the drainage system, it impacted anyone that had to walk out of their house, and that's the first thing that they see, or get in their car and attempt to go to their destination and having to look at that for blocks on their street. So I'm asking that we have some type of workshop in the new year. I mentioned it to the manager, and I hope that I can get a second, that we will have a workshop on having ways to identify issues that we see as we pass down our streets every day without having to have someone call and say that they are having problems with their ditches in their neighborhood or on their street or in their front yard. So with that, we continue to try to do the best we can, but we can always be better. And I'm just asking that as we go into the new year, we all attempt to be better and do better.
Thank you, thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Mouton.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Councilmember Samuel, for your comments on the sewage, and I will definitely second your motion for that workshop. It is no fun cleaning up sewer. I've spent an entire day, over about 15 hours, cleaning up sewage when it backed up into my bathroom. So not only have I seen it, not only do I deal with it here, I've had to deal with it in my home, and it's no fun. So thank you for that. Councilmember Felshaw, condolences to you and your family. To have to deal with losing a mother and then losing a mother at Christmas time is even harder into COVID. So sorry for your loss, for you and your family and your church family. You have my condolences. I would also like to say Merry Christmas to all of our staff, to all of the citizens here in Beaumont. This has been a different year like no other. We've dealt with, well, we've seen COVID go from March to now December, and we thought it would either taper off or we would see the end of it. And now we're at the point where we're seeing an increase of it. We would continue to ask you to follow the guidelines, to social distance, to continue to wash your hands and do what's needed so that we can one day get past this. And Merry Christmas to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Do you have anything, City Manager, City Attorney?
Yes, Mayor.
Condolences to you, Councilman Felshaw. This is not a good time of year to have to bereave the death of a mother. I lost my mother at 13 years old, so I understand the loss of a mother. As the mayor read, I am the subject of today's executive session, and I understand that Councilmember Getz put me on executive session, and Councilmember Neal was the second. Reason being to inquire as to my FMLA status in my absence dealing with a condition. I also understand that Councilmember Getz is desirous of excluding me from the executive session discussion. And if the council is entertaining that, for the record, I would have to object to that and request that a public hearing be held. And I don't know what the council's wishes are in that regard, but if the council is entertaining and if that's what the council wants to do, then I would request that a public hearing be held. Today's executive session, of course, is not published for a executive session. So for the record, I would object to any discussions that would be had about me in an executive session where I'm not in attendance.
Okay, so Mr. Cooper, if the council, we don't know this, but if the council does allow you to be in the executive session, you're not opposing it, correct?
I mean, if they have questions, if the council has questions of me, I don't think there's anybody better to answer them than me.
Okay, thank you. So, do we want to move to executive session? I don't have a problem with Mr. Cooper being in the room. I didn't know that there was a request for him not to be.
Mayor, I think that's something that we ought to talk about in executive session, not in public.
Well, if we're going to talk about Mr. Cooper, then he needs to be in the room at least until the council decides, because that's it. It's about him.
Mayor, we've received an email from Mr. Cooper that talks about the possibility of legal action against the city if certain things are not done in a certain
Mayor,
manner.
this is inappropriate. The public hearing has not been posted as such, and there's not a discussion item on the agenda for this. He's already started with a mischaracterization.
Okay.
And again, this is pure harassment, Mayor, and I'm tired of it. The question that I raise here is the council entertaining excluding me from an executive session that is in my name about me for any possible disciplinary action that may be had against me. If there is that, if the reason is to exclude me, it must be in a public hearing,
Okay.
properly posted.
So this is what I'm going to do. We'll go into executive session. Mr. Cooper will be in the room, and we will discuss whether or not he can stay. If it is said that he cannot stay, if the council majority says that, then we will post this as a public hearing. Otherwise, we will move forward with the executive session. All right? So with that said, I just want to wish everyone a very Merry Christmas. I don't believe that we meet again until something like January 11th, whatever that Tuesday is. I want everyone to pay attention to the media. I know that most of you saw that yesterday, late yesterday, the governor, Governor Abbott, issued a rollback because of our occupancy in our hospitals being over 15% with COVID patients for 7 days straight. And so please recognize that. It's printed everywhere. You can see it on the news stations. You can see it in the newspaper, so I won't go into all the details. We will post the letter also on our website that we received, actually the county received. We did not receive anything, and so we didn't know about it till last night. So, but it is in effect. And the county did check with the state, and they said it went into effect at 8 o'clock this morning. Please know that we did not know about this until like 6 or 7 last night, so there was no way for us to give any notice. Councilmember Felshaw, I actually know what you're going through. My mother's in hospice right now, and I thought I was going to lose her yesterday, but she rebounded, strong woman. And so I'd ask that y'all pray for her. And I want to say a very, very Merry Christmas to everyone. Happy Hanukkah. However you celebrate, I hope that your season is joyous. We now will recess into executive session. Thank y'all for coming.